I'm a single father of two children, an 8-year-old boy named Terrence and a 5-year-old boy named Leo. You guys probably ask why I'm a single father. It's actually because my wife died after getting murdered by her ex out of jealousy. It's spring break and I noticed Leo started acting odd. Sometimes he would barely eat, he would get random bruises, etc. I felt concerned, so I took him to the doctor and the doctor diagnosed him with cancer. Before he passed away, he wanted to see how SpongeBob SquarePants was made. SpongeBob was his number one favourite TV show. Every morning he would go to the Nickelodeon channel to see SpongeBob before he goes to school, since he wakes up at 6 a.m. Knowing how much Leo wanted to see SpongeBob behind the scenes, I went to Make-A-Wish Foundation to make his biggest wish come true. We went to South Korea to visit the Rough Giraffe studios to see how SpongeBob was animated, and then visit the Nickelodeon animation studio to see how they voiced the characters, made storyboards, etc. There were even shells of every SpongeBob episode in videotapes, with the episode names labelled. I noticed an odd case on the season 3 episode shelf labelled Darkened with some drawings of pieces of trash. I asked them about that, and they said that it was an episode made to spread awareness about the ocean and how we should be more careful about pollution in the sea. But the writers took the wrong turn and went too far to the point where it was deemed too dark to be aired and released. I thought that it probably wouldn't be as dark as they said, right? I learned the truth the hard way. In case it was true, I decided to watch it alone to avoid traumatizing anybody wanting to join me. Luckily, I found a room with a TV and a built-in DVD player. Now I can watch the episode while Leo and Terrence are in the middle of a SpongeBob behind-the-scenes tour. After I put the DVD in, the SpongeBob episode started, and so did my Journey of the Pollution episode that will soon pollute my innocence. We agreed with the same old intro from every SpongeBob episode. We were greeted with the same old intro from every SpongeBob episode. We got the talking pirate in a painting, SpongeBob playing the recorder on his nose, and the title card of, you guessed it, Darkened. Because everything looked normal, I thought it was just a silly joke to scare me, and that in reality the episode just suffered the same fate as The Sponge Who Could Fly, but with no plan to air on TV. Maybe it was exclusive to an aquarium part of the perk if you donate to some ocean charity. Man, I was wrong. It started outside. Zooming into SpongeBob's pineapple and fading into his bedroom, inside, SpongeBob seemed to be shaking in fear with his eyes closed, like he was having a nightmare. Some videos like the Boston Tea Party, an oil spill, and a sea turtle choking on a part of a six-pack ring appeared for a couple of seconds. He woke up before his alarm went off, and after a couple of seconds when he looks at his clock, the 7:40 Foghorn Wake 'em Up Grand Alarm Clock, or SpongeBob calls Alarmy, goes off, while his face looked like he was looking outside of a window at a car on a highway. He felt like he was in a strong windy blizzard climbing up a mountain, using all his grip to avoid getting blown away to turn off his alarm. Soon, SpongeBob felt relief that it was just a nightmare, and he continued his life like nothing happened, changing into his clothes and going on a walk to his favourite job, the Krusty Krab. He noticed Mr. Krabs outside, next to lots of floating trash, from water bottles to pitchers of milk, and has buckets of paint and some tubes of glue with him. When SpongeBob asked his boss what he was doing, he told him that he wanted to build a large statue of Krabby Patty out of the trash and that hiring a sculptor to build a statue out of stone was too expensive. The screen goes to Mr. Krabs with his statue finished. When his money sensors start tingling, the word refund goes from one ear to the other. One letter each, Mr. Krabs dashes inside the restaurant and asks what's wrong. They start yelling at Mr. Krabs, opening their half-eaten Krabby Patties to reveal random objects inside, while yelling out in unison, "Explain this!" I chuckled a bit, especially on that one scene when a customer reveals an entire real-life scuba diver inside a Krabby Patty as the diver swims away, looking embarrassed. Mr. Krabs starts to demand SpongeBob to cook the Krabby Patties clean and tasty. SpongeBob goes into the kitchen to try to make a Krabby Patty, but it was full of trash. He tells Mr. Krabs about the trash in the kitchen. The camera pans to Squidward, asleep on the cash register with a Kelpie G magazine covering his face. Mr. Krabs wakes him up to send him and SpongeBob on a mission to find out the cause of the random trash on Bikini Bottom and to end it for good. The screen transitions to SpongeBob and Squidward in the middle of a walk. It looks like the sun is going down, and Squidward complains about how they were walking for hours to find nothing, and that he's going home, throwing the hat on the floor hard. After Squidward leaves, SpongeBob feels upset, wondering how he's gonna solve this mess. Then, he got the idea to visit Sandy to see if she can find the origin of all the trash. As SpongeBob starts running, the screen transitions to inside of Sandy's tree dome, with Sandy working on something. SpongeBob kicks the door open while panting like he ran a marathon. He tells Sandy about the trash and that he needs help. SpongeBob SpongeBob kicks the door open while panting like he ran a marathon. He tells Sandy about the trash and that he needs her to help find out where all the trash is coming from. Sandy tells SpongeBob that she was working on an invention to try and get rid of the trash. In the middle of Sandy talking to SpongeBob, the camera pans to the window as the conversation gets quieter. Some trash bumped into the glass of the tree dome, and the debris from one of the trash cracked the glass. It's now nighttime, and SpongeBob has found an empty city that looks pretty unnerving. He checks the buildings, and they're all empty, although he did check a farm only to find Patrick eating grass, and he told SpongeBob that some random dude told him to eat some greens, and he ate grass because the grass was green. He was about to leave town when he noticed something that he hadn't seen before. There was a man with a hat, his identity covered with his silhouette, with a bubble pipe in his mouth. He was sitting in a rocking chair, reading an old newspaper. Next to the rocking chair, there was a gasoline bottle next to him. His eyes can only be seen, which instead of normal eyes, seem to be right-angled triangles. He peeks out at the newspaper and notices SpongeBob. "Hello, Sponge Boy," he said in a deep voice. He sounded like he smoked 5 packs of cigarettes. SpongeBob said, my name's SpongeBob. What's your name?" The hat dude says, SpongeBob, whatever. Also, my name's not important. SpongeBob starts asking him if he knows where the trash comes from. The hat guy responds, "I do know they're coming." SpongeBob's confused. "Who's coming?" "Once you see them, you'll know." The hat guy starts drinking gasoline until he dies of gasoline intoxication. Then, 3 flood-like objects look like larger versions of common ocean garbage appear. One is an empty water bottle with sharp teeth. Another is a ripped-off food wrapper with only one eye, a golden tooth and a spiked bat. The last one is a grocery bag with a scar on an arm and some broken teeth. The food wrapper's arm reaches out on the inside of the wrap, grabbing a Krabby Patty, and then puts the fists between the buns. The filling shooting off the burger and hitting SpongeBob's face was supposed to represent giving SpongeBob a knuckles sandwich. The water bottle says, "We are the Garbanzo Gang." SpongeBob looks at the gang appalled. "You were the ones putting random trash in Bikini Bottom?" SpongeBob asked. The water bottle chuckled. "You really are smart for a kitchen sponge." The water bottle starts spitting water on SpongeBob as hard as a pressure washer. SpongeBob grabs the ketchup and mustard bottles out of his pockets and shoots them into the floor for the Garbanzo Gang to trip and fall. The water bottle faintly opened his mouth like he was breathing his last breath. Then a dark void starts to come out of his mouth, spreading in every direction it goes, with every object it touches disintegrating into nothingness. SpongeBob sprints back into the city he lived in, but it's empty. No people, no nothing, just houses. The void starts catching up and corners SpongeBob. He starts to hallucinate about his friends getting harmed by the trash. SpongeBob clenches his teeth and screams in agony, "Why?" as he disintegrates, with the screams echoing into darkness. The screen fades into SpongeBob facing away, crying in the corner while sitting down. Some messages appear saying, 8.3 million tons of plastic are dumped into the ocean. Over 1 million marine animals die of plastic debris in the ocean each year. And if you don't want the ocean to end up like SpongeBob here, stop the pollution. It fades to the credits, but the music was different. Instead of the normal credits music playing, a music box played the same tune as the credits, and the musical scale seemed somewhere between oddly disturbing to sad. The music aside, the credits play like normal, until we get to the United Plankton Pictures logo. Instead of happy little plankton-like creatures smiling while holding hands, they're all laying down, looking like they're dead. There were some piles of plastic somewhere between them, and in front of all the creatures, there was a small shadow of the Garbanzo Gang. Then it faded to the Nickelodeon logo. I was disturbed, yet surprised. I've seen dark episodes like Are You Happy Now, One Course Meal, whatever, but Darkened Heart was on a new level, and the fact that my youngest son got cancer didn't help. I got Leon to chemotherapy, and I have hope for his survival sometimes. I think it's called Darkened Heart for a reason, and the name was supposed to point to us. We were the ones who had darkened hearts. We were the ones throwing trash into the ocean. We were the ones putting aquatic species into danger. To this point on, I'm going to have to live my life with trauma from a SpongeBob episode, my dead wife, and the possible death of Leo. Okay, so yes, I'm aware. It has been quite some time since I've done one of these. I do apologise for my absence. The main reason I've not done one of these for a good couple of months just because, I've been occupied with other things, other types of content on the channel. But these are officially back now, and I'm going to be having tons coming out soon, and I'm also going to have tons of non-lost episode ones coming out soon, which should be pretty exciting. However, anyways, let's get into the actual review of this story now, shall we? So first of all, my thoughts on the story. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, pretty nice, and yeah, kind of different from other pastas. Now, the premise of, it being like some dad, like, his son has cancer and like reaching out to make a wish and like taking his children to Nickelodeon Studios to see what episodes are made is pretty interesting and not really a thing many pastors have done because, well, I mean, some pastors have done, the whole being an intern thing, which which was screwed with suicide, which is a pasta I may narrate at some point, kind of start, but still, okay, well, how is that relevant? But, I mean, because it was at, like, Nickelodeon issue, but I don't even think this was at Nickelodeon issue, but anyways, yeah, I'm yapping, but, yeah, it was a pretty interesting concept, and, the whole thing of the protagonist's wife being murdered by an ex out of jealousy is pretty, interesting, of course, dark in a way, because, I mean, what was murder? Murder is obviously dark and that stuff, and, yeah. Now let's get into the actual episode itself. I thought it was pretty interesting, how they, would decided to make an episode to raise awareness for pollution, but of course it was scrapped because it was too dark, which, for me, honestly, is a slight cliche of the whole, the writers went a bit overboard, so it got scrapped, which I just really don't think would happen in real life. Yeah, sure, it's a creepypasta, it's obviously not real, but, I still, in creepypasta, it's kind of like, just to have what am I going to say, a bit of, like, realism, like, if you can, like, because instead of, knives started flying out and stabbing me, and, yeah, stuff like that, which, okay, I've never seen a pasta do before, but still, and, yeah, but it was interesting, to say the least. The plot of the episode was rather interesting. Another, like, minor critique I have was, like, the sort of lack of dialogue from the, I mean, the characters obviously did speak, but, like, we didn't hear, like, exactly what the characters were saying until, like, like, the near end of the episode, but, I mean, it really does, it's something I personally would have sort of preferred, but, to be honest here, it really didn't really drag the story down that much, so, yeah. Also, another thing I actually really enjoyed about the story is the inclusion of new characters, like, the whole Garbanzo Gang thing of, like, the garbage is that, like, her invading Bikini Bottom. It was a really cool one. I liked it a lot. It's something I kind of wish more I mean, a lot of other creepypastas do tend to, have custom characters, but, have them having an actual name, Garbanzo Gang, is something that, I find quite cool, and, is pretty cool. I just said I find it cool, but, yeah. So now, any negatives? I mean, well, something which, I don't know if I'd say it's a 100% proper negative, but, like, something I did kind of find annoying, so, like, when I was reading it, you may notice I was kind of struggling a bit, because, how, like, instead of saying, for example, as especially, the Garbanzo Gang part, where it says, like, for example, that it's about their hand, said something like, how they did something with their hand, to have, like, he did something with a hand, or the hand, which is kind of just made it pretty difficult to read, because, like, yeah, okay, well, I'm sorry, I've lost what I was about to say, but, yeah, it makes it pretty difficult to read, because instead of saying, like, did something with his hand, did something with the hand, like, whose hand is it? Is it just a hand somewhere? But, again, that's just a small little criticism I have, but, it's something which, in my opinion, I feel could have been changed, maybe, but, yeah. And another sort of criticism I have of this story is how, when, of course, he finished watching the episode, he says something about how, like, his wife's death will haunt him, as well as this episode, and, of course, the possible death of, Leo, his son. Which, of course, his wife's death and his son dying, obviously, of course, is having to experience your wife getting murdered by her jealous ex in front of you must be absolutely traumatizing and give you, like, quite a lot of PTSD. But the episode, I mean, I understand because of his trauma in the past, the episode may have, been pretty difficult, for him to watch, which I understand, but still, it's just an episode of a kid show, which didn't air because it was too dark, which, okay, well, a lot of what I'm saying may not make the most sense, but still, it's something I don't really like when pastors do, like, this episode will always haunt me, like, no, it won't, it's just a bit of a creepy episode, like, well, again, this is just my opinion, and I get what I'm saying may sound a bit weird, and a lot of people may disagree, which is fine, of course. A lot of us will have different opinions on things, but it's still something I kind of wish was left out, However, can I think of anything else to the story? Honestly, not really, no, because it was a pretty good story, pretty interesting premise. And yeah, of course, by the way, yeah, sure, in a lot of these reviews, I do tend to criticize quite a bit. Have just know that if the author of these stories ever come across the field, just know I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just, giving some criticisms on what I think you could do better and stuff. And yeah, I'm just giving you criticism and etc. Yeah, I don't want you to feel discouraged. Continue writing, continue improving, and you never know. So yeah. So my final thoughts on the story. It was a pretty good, pretty well made, pretty unique creepypasta. I liked it a lot. It was pretty interesting, and yeah. And my final rating of the story would have to be an 8.5 out of 10. It was pretty good and stuff and unique, and yeah, I said that, but I keep doing that, but yeah. Anyways, yeah. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Comment, crate if you made it this far, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.